We made it to that time in the NFL season where we have to start looking at the playoff picture, what teams are going to get what seed, what teams are fighting for a playoff spot, and what teams are on the verge of being eliminated every week at this point. So I hope you guys enjoy. We're going to get right into it. Starting off with the officially eliminated teams, we'll see in the AFC, there has already been 6 teams eliminated. We have the Raiders, Titans, Patriots, Jets, Jaguars, and Browns all have a 0% chance of making the playoffs, and the Giants in the NFC as the only team who is officially eliminated yet. You might be looking at this and be like, how are teams like the Panthers still alive, or the Saints, the Bears, the Cowboys? We're going to get into that in a little bit, but real quickly, just going to mention that these teams, their season obviously over at this point, probably tanking for a top draft pick and to draft a guy like Travis Hunter with a top pick if they can get it. So it's going to be a tank fest. You have the Raiders and the Giants as the 2 worst records and a bunch of 3-10 teams. So we're going to see how it works. You can't forget the Panthers are also 3-10. So all these teams in this area are contending for that top pick, or at least the best pick they can get. They don't affect the rest of this video. Now going into the clinched playoff spots. As of making this, there's 2 in the AFC, 2 in the NFC. But obviously as the weeks go on, that's going to change as the playoff bracket continues to assemble. I wanted to make this now though, to kind of get some predictions, get some thoughts out the way, whereas we still have the chance before it's already set. So the Chiefs and Bills are already clinched in the AFC. Both teams have already won their division. Congrats to the Chiefs and Bills. The Lions and the Eagles are clinched in the NFC, but I don't think their teams have officially won the division yet. They still need another game or two to officially lock up that division. The Vikings might need more than one more game because the Vikings are right on their tail. But the Eagles should have it locked up within the next few weeks if they continue to win. So looking at these clinch spots, we're obviously not too surprised with any of these teams. 4 of the best teams in the NFL, and probably the 4 favorites to win the Super Bowl if the season ended today. The Bills losing in Week 14 to the Los Angeles Rams was a big loss. That was a big loss. If they won that game, they could be 11-2 and still very well in it for the 1 seed. But now after you lose that game, you have a very little chance of getting the 1 seed. You'd need the Chiefs to lose a few games, and you'd probably have to win out the rest of the season. Is it impossible? No. Do they already have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs head-to-head? Yes. But it's very unlikely as the Chiefs just look like they're not going to lose a game. Moving to the NFC side, we have the Lions, who have a strong chance of getting the 1 seed. The Eagles are 1 game behind. But we just have to wait and see for the NFC. If I were to bet on it right now, the top 3 teams to get the 1 seed would be the Lions, the Eagles, and the Vikings. We'll be obviously talking about the Vikings in a little bit here. So those are the clinch teams, right? This we already know is confirmed to be in the playoffs. Now let's look at the in the hunt and on the bubble. This is where we have to start breaking down stuff. This is where what type of scenarios get each team in and what get each team out, if that makes any sense. Starting off with the AFC division leaders. The other 2 as of now are the Seahawks and Bucks in the NFC. In the AFC, it's the Steelers and the Texans. You'll see on here, NFL.com, that the Steelers have a over 99% chance to get in, which basically means they're in, but they're not clinched yet. 1 more game, and they should be locked in, unless all other AFC wildcard teams right now win, then they won't be clinched yet. But they should have a playoff spot in the bag. And same with the Texans. We're going to talk about the Colts in a second, but the Texans have a 96% chance with only an 8-5 record because of their division being weak. So they're saying the NFC, sorry, not the NFC, the AFC South No team is going to catch up to the Texans, even though they're not really a top team in the league. They still should have that division unlocks, which means they would get that 4 seed as of now. Going to the NFC, the Seahawks as the 3 seed. They are fighting with every team in the division still for the division. They have a 3-game lead on the Niners. They have a 2-game lead on the Cardinals and also beat the Cardinals in both games if it ever had to come down to tiebreakers. And they are leading the Rams by 1. So right now the Seahawks' biggest concern is just to win some more games, try winning that division so you can get the 3 seed, get a home playoff game, and not have to worry about crazy scenarios for getting a final wild card spot. Now, if you're another NFC West team like the Rams, the Cardinals, and especially the 49ers, your best chance is the division, because getting a wild card with an at least 8-5 Commanders team at the bottom of it is going to be hard to do. The Rams have a decent chance of winning the division. If the Seahawks lose another game or two and they win a few more, they'll be right there. The Cardinals losing both games to the Seahawks hurts, but they're still only 2 games behind. So if the Seahawks lose some games, the Rams lose some games, the Cardinals can sneak back in and get it. And for the 49ers, they also went to 6-7. They also lost the game to the Seahawks. So it's similar for them, but they have a slightly less chance of making the playoffs. I think that's just kind of based off how they looked in games. They obviously blew out the Bears in week 14, but they have a lot of guys injured. So that's probably playing a little bit of a factor as to why they're an 8% instead of a 9%. But it's 1%, it's not too deep. Another interesting thing to look at in the NFC is that NFC South division winner. A lot of people are going to want the Bucs to win because they believe that the Bucs give the best chance, which is probably the Vikings as the 5th seed, a run for their money. They believe that the Falcons probably don't have the best chance to beat the Vikings. But the Buccaneers, on the other hand, more people have more faith in them. So it's really just up to how many more games the Bucs can win. If they win out, which is manageable with a pretty easy schedule, already got both Falcons games out of the way. They did lose both of them, which could be a big part in why they don't win the division. But if they win out, or if they only lose one more game, then they should be able to get that 4 spot after losing both games to Atlanta. Meanwhile, Atlanta themselves, they can still win the division. They beat both games against the Bucs. They just have to string together a couple wins in a row, get a nice little winning streak going, and they need the Bucs to lose one game. So if they have the tied record, the Falcons would get it over the Bucs because they beat the Bucs twice in head-to-head games. If you understand what I'm kind of saying, Falcons need the Bucs to lose a game, Bucs just need to keep winning, and that's how the Bucs would get that division versus how the Falcons would get the division. Both teams could technically still have a shot at a wild card if they don't win the division, but getting it is unlikely as the Falcons are 2 games behind, Bucs are 1 game behind, but it is definitely possible if the Bucs lose one more game the rest of the year, Falcons win out, Falcons get the 4 seed, the Commanders lose a few games, other teams lose a few games, then the Bucs would probably get a 6 or 7 seed. The Vikings at this point are basically clinched as well in that 5 seed. We're going to break down all of the NFC, the rest of the wild cards, and then we're going to move over to the AFC. Because the NFC, there's a lot more to unpack, but the AFC, there's a lot more competitiveness for seeding right now. So for that 5 seed, it's basically going to be the Vikings, unless the Packers come up somehow from down 2 games. The Vikings did beat them head-to-head. Or if the Lions slip a little bit, which is not entirely impossible, then the Vikings can either take the 1 or the 2 seed and leave the Lions at the 5 seed. That is a realistic scenario. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that can happen. And anything can happen once you get the playoff time in the NFL. The Packers, meanwhile, are holding the 6th seed pretty strong. They have a playoff spot in a firm grasp right now. They just need to win a few more games, not let the Commanders sneak up and take the 6th seed from them, and they should be able to get that NFC West matchup, which it looks like is going to be the weakest division winner out of all 4 division winners in the NFC. So you might be wanting that 6th seed if you're the Packers, trying to get that game against either the Seahawks, maybe the Rams, maybe the Cardinals, whoever it may be, instead of going for the 5 seed and having to go to Tampa to play the Bucks round 1, where they're going to be having a fire under them. So I think the Packers are just going to play it safe the rest of the season, win some games, clinch a spot, and probably just get the 6th seed. The Commanders, however, this is where it gets interesting. This final spot, the 7th seed, can decide a ton. If the Commanders get the 7th seed, they would probably play the Eagles in the first round. That's how it's set up right now. And with Jayden Daniels, they can do an upset in Philadelphia. But a lot of teams, I feel like, can beat the Eagles. So it's just who's going to get it. Will the Rams emerge? Or will the Bucks lose the division and get it? Will the Seahawks lose the division and get it? It's really up to just the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and the Rams fighting for the Commanders with that 7th seed. You look at teams like the Falcons, the Cardinals, the 49ers, even the Cowboys. If they win tonight on Monday Night Football, as I'm making this, I decided to do this before Monday Night Football because I don't think the Bengals-Cowboys has a real big implication on playoffs, so might as well just do it now. If one of these 7-win teams can sneak up on the Commanders, if they slip a little bit more, then we might see them take the 7th seed. So that's kind of how the wild card is working in the NFC right now. Obviously, seeding between the Lions and Eagles can switch. Seeding between the Seahawks and Bucks can switch. And we kind of just have to see. Now, you might be thinking, why are there teams like the Saints, like the Bears, and like the Panthers in here? We're going to start by talking about the Carolina Panthers just for 1 second. Their only chance of getting in, and it's a long shot, that's why it's a less than 1%, but it's technically still a possibility, is if the Bucks lose the rest of their season, the Saints start losing the rest of their season, and the Falcons lose the rest of their season. The Panthers are 4 games behind the Buccaneers right now, and if you're able to do the math, there's 4 games left in the season. So if the Panthers win out, the Bucks go to 7-10, Falcons 6-11, Saints stay at a 5-win team, which is impossible based off scheduling. But there's ways where the Bucks can be 7-10, Saints be 6 wins, Falcons be 6-7 wins. There is the tiniest of chances that they can win the division. There's obviously no chance at them at a wild card at this point, but that's kind of what the NFL.com website is looking at, is that division is not entirely impossible. Keep in mind, it's almost to 0 odds, but it's not 0, so they're not in the eliminated with the New York Giants. And same thing with the Saints, but it's a little bit more doable for them. That win against the Giants in New York means that they're still only 2 games behind first in the division in the NFC South. Only 1 game behind the 6-7 Falcons, who were just winning the division until they lost that game against the Vikings. So the Saints, if they win out, they'd be a 9-8 team. They have a chance at making the playoffs. The Bucks, if they're 8 wins, Falcons, if they're 7-8 wins, Saints would just flat out get that final playoff spot. That would be monumental for their interim head coach, Mr. Rizzi himself. That's his name. And that would be big for the Saints. Like I said, it's almost 0 odds, like it says on here, but it is technically possible. And then finally, for the Chicago Bears, I think what they're saying is their only shot is a wild card. You obviously can't win the division with a 12-win Lions team, but I'm not really too sure how they have a chance because they're 4 games behind the Commanders, and they lost to the Commanders head-to-head. So I guess if they're saying the Commanders lose out, the Rams go above the Commanders in the standings or a team like that, and the Bears have a head-to-head win over the Rams, is what I'm kind of hearing. but it's very, very low chance for all these teams. But it's worth it to talk about because they still have a chance. As of making this, they still have a chance, which is all that matters. We're finally going to be talking about AFC wildcards. I saved this for the end because it's a little bit shorter, but there's some interesting stuff to talk about here. So the Ravens, the Broncos, and the Chargers right now are all 8-5. Two of the teams are second in their division. One team is third in the division, that being the Broncos right now. But the Broncos are still above the Chargers on this playoff thing here for NFL. Chargers have a better shot at the playoffs. I'm assuming because of strength of schedule. But the Chargers and the Broncos, and this is the interesting thing to look at, since they are division rivals and they didn't play 2 times earlier in the year, they still are playing each other this season in a head-to-head game. That head-to-head game is going to be the team that other AFC wildcard runner-ups are going to want to lose the rest of the season. So, to explain that in a little bit of a better way, if the Broncos lose the Broncos-Chargers head-to-head, then a team like the Colts would want the Broncos to lose out. Same thing with the Chargers. If they lost, then a team like the Colts or the Dolphins would want the Chargers to lose out. The Ravens have a little bit of a better chance. I'm assuming they're doing that based off one, that they beat both the Chargers and the Broncos in head-to-head matchups. So that gives them an automatic game over both of them because they beat them head-to-head. And also they're probably just looking at what team has higher point differential in games that they've won and what team might just be looking better and more Super Bowl legit. That's probably why the Ravens have a little bit of a better chance on NFL.com. But now we're going to quickly talk about these AFC on the bubble teams. The Colts and Dolphins, if they can somehow emerge, the Dolphins would have to be through the wild card because the Bills already won their division. But the Colts, they could still win their division as well. So the Colts have a little bit of a better chance to make it than the Dolphins because the Dolphins only have one way, which is through the wild card. And the Colts have multiple ways. You can get it through the wild card or you can get it through the division. The division might be a little bit harder because the Texans are 2 games ahead, beat them in head-to-head matchups both times this season, and it's going to be hard for the Colts to catch up to the Texans. But if they can somehow, the Texans haven't looked great recently, so the Colts have an opportunity to win some games, string a few more together, and if the Texans start to lose for the remainder of the season, Colts could very well sneak in and get the 4 seed. But it's pretty unlikely, so their best bet is getting a wild card. Like I said about a minute ago, the main thing that these on the bubble teams, Colts, Dolphins, and if the Bengals win tonight, I guess they'll be 5-8, but it's almost impossible for them to get it still. These on the bubble teams are looking for who loses the Broncos Chargers matchup to lose the rest of the season. Because if the Broncos are 9-5 but lose a few more games but win against the Chargers, it's not really going to do anything because they're going to be sharing records. They need one team to fall apart and one team to dominate through the rest of the season and beat the other team that's in here. I think there's a better chance that the Chargers beat the Broncos than there is a Broncos beating the Chargers right now. So let's just say the Chargers beat the Broncos in that head-to-head. The Colts and Dolphins, and maybe Bengals if they stay alive another week, are really going to want the Broncos to lose the rest of the season. Is that hard to do? Yes, it's hard to really fall apart, especially with how Sean Payton has the guys playing. But it's not entirely impossible. We've seen it done before. Sorry about the voice crack. I've been talking a lot, just trying to explain this for you guys. But we've seen teams collapse before. And that's what the Dolphins and the Colts are looking for right now. If the Dolphins, if they didn't lose Tua, maybe they would be in the wild card right now. But you can't really be saying what ifs. It's just how the luck of the cards go. And it's in favor of the Broncos, Chargers, and Ravens in the AFC right now. So that is my playoff breakdown. If I had to predict, I would do that in a separate video. So make sure you stick around. I think I have college football predictions coming in the next few days. So look forward for that video because we all love college football and we all love predicting playoff games. But thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.